Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Friday, June 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Building virtual tabletop adventures. Today we're going to try something different. Dyson Logos just released a 3.5 index card map this week. He'd been asked about doing some smaller maps for people. He intends to put out a bunch of them and put them into a collection at some point. Something you could then print out and use for quick play. And my thinking was, well, what would we do if we wanted to use this for a virtual tabletop? Obviously, when you're thinking in terms of 3.5 index cards, you're thinking in terms of physical face-to-face gaming. It's you don't need a particular size on on a virtual tabletop. You do, however, if you want to put together a small tomb or a small location, need to do so in such a way that might emulate a 3.5 style card. Ah, delicious. Well, I'm going through a lot of water these days. It's been hot in Lake Geneva, and I will continue to. What else we got here? Let's see. Let's have a closer look at that map. So here we go. Let me move that off to the side for a second. Double check something real quick. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay, okay. I see. All right. There it is. All right. That's the big one. That's what we need to do. Let's have a closer look at it. Lower left, notice that. Supported on Patreon, DysonLogos.com if you want to go check out some more of his work. I've been a Patreon supporter of his for going on 5 years. If you're going to use his stuff, you definitely should support him, as true with all artists. All right, let's pull a. Let's use the eyedropper tool. Is that what they call it? Dropper tool? I don't know. Anyway, it's a little larger. What about that? Nah, I'm going to use a paint bucket. All right. Over in the upper left, we've got an entryway. So we're just going to go through kind of the features of this map. This is, by the way, something he doesn't do a lot of is this colorizing. There's only 3 extra colors in this. Right? We got our typical black and white. Then we've got this yellow he uses to show where you're going if you go down a stairway or one map to another. So this goes down this way, winds down, and comes back around. This one is part of this stair right here. Right? So they're somewhat different. Notice that this little rock here and this little indentation in a step kind of corresponds with this one right here. So that's where we're looking at transitioning these 4 steps, transition to these 4 steps. Okay? Unlike this one, where this line is this line, so this entire bunch of steps is the same as this entire bunch of steps. So you're not going down to here and then going to here. When you get down to here, you are right here. When you are right here, you are way up here still. So slightly different. Keep an eye on that when you're running this. So we've got an entrance. We've got a a raised area here. We can tell it's raised because the shadow is on that side of this line. These two lines are close together, so this is a pretty steep drop off. You can decide how much of a drop off it is. But if you're gonna put something up, at least make it a step. Don't make it an inch higher unless there's some crazy reason for it. You want to at least have to step up a foot or so to make it worth your while. Um, Sometimes you want to put something up 5 feet, maybe 10 feet. Maybe there's a ladder. Maybe it's up 12 feet. Maybe there's a ladder nearby. Maybe there's a ladder that's drawn up top by some creature that is up top side there, right? And that becomes a decent defensible position. It wouldn't do much against, say, insects, which could crawl right up the side of the wall or up the sides of the cave. It's not going to help against bats, which are going to fly up there no matter what happens. Things like cave fishers, tougher creatures, tougher monsters that are beyond mundane insects, animals, are things that are going to get up there quite easily. But I'll tell you what, if there's a bunch of goblins and you have bows, you can line some bowmen up here, right? A couple of bowmen, maybe 3, and fire down on this if you're up 10, 12 feet and guard against it. If this comes in and then this ceiling's higher in here such that you can't look directly out, then nobody can fire at you from outside. So if this is a low enough entrance here, it becomes a bottleneck that can be defended, right? So there's a lot of possibilities here. Let's move on and talk about some of the other areas. So going down the steps, once again, when you're here, you're here. I may put something on the map that indicates that, because it's always useful to put something on there, like some sort of denotation, a number, a letter, corresponding letter or number on the other side. So you get to the bottom of the steps. Now this is where things change a little bit, right? So we've got this open cavern, cave here, but we get down here. Now we've got some construction. This has worked. This is a little rough, right? Still a little rough, but those are steps. This is still rough, but there's a door here. There are a couple of boxes or slabs or something in this room, even though this room is kind of rough too, and keep that in mind, right? The hallway up to it, or the way it was dug out, so maybe this was a cave, it was widened, a door was slapped in there. So too, we've got these alcoves, this hallway, pretty straight, pretty well built, double doors. Couple of features here. Maybe there's small pillars or offerings or something. Maybe there's a temple area over here, a shrine or something that's been built. Could be a couple of these 5-foot squares, these 10-foot squares. These could be a couple of coffins. There's a couple of blocks here, here, and here. We're not sure what those are. These could just be random stones, the smaller ones, right? Just lying around like this, just rubble. Just stuff that was thrown on there to give the map a little character. We've got another room over here. Not perfectly formed, right? So it's rough in the corner. The walls are a little... but it looks like there was something in here. There's debris. It's not blocking the door, so when I push this door open, and most doors will hinge to the side that has a near wall. So I always look at something like this and say, okay, this is hinging this way to the left as you come through. And notice the debris is pushed back from the door. It's not up against it, so there might not be anything in here. Something could have left. So you're not going to find if debris was up against the door, and we know a door opens this way, you could put some sort of undead in here, and it could be something that's been in there since the debris was dropped, is what I'm trying to point out. What do we got here? Stairway down again. And again, we're back to rough here. So these could be natural and then just kind of dug, created, not finished per se, but worked a little bit. So too here. Because notice the width of this, right? We've got 2 steps down, and we've got a pretty wide landing. And then we've got a few steps down, and then we're here. Right, there's our marker stone. And then we got a handful more, and they're all uneven. This is kind of tricky. If somebody's not paying attention, if you're in the dark, you would have to suggest that there was a place there where somebody could slip or fall or stumble. That narrow step is tricky. Then we go down. Do we have any others? This one up here, kind of a narrow step, right? If you're walking 2 by 2, if these are 5-foot squares, if you're trying to maintain a side by side buddy system, 2 people in the front rank, obviously when you're here, somebody's got to go first. But if you get to here, whoever's on this side, if it's dark, if they don't have very good vision, if they're in a hurry, you might want to have a dex check or the equivalent somewhere around there. Somewhere around there. We get down to this bottom. What do we got? Nothing really worked down here. We've got a pool. One of our 3 extra colors. This tan, this gold, this blue. We've got a couple of natural pillars. Notice the shadowing. This is going down. Notice the shadowing here. This is going back up. So this pool must be on this level, right? Or just below. And then this goes up. And then this goes down again. Notice the shadowing. And then this goes up. Now, that would make this also on the pool level. What you could do, if you felt like it, would be to eliminate this shadow, right? Go into the, and then add the shadow back in on the opposite side. So we've got 1, 2, 3 steps up. So this is even higher on this side. In fact, I think that is something I would want to do. It just feels right for this particular map. So let's go in there with, let's go right in there. And we'll just erase that side of the shadow there. Then, what do we got? That's good size. Let's use that eyedropper tool. Let's get ourselves a little let's go over to the, and let's go bigger, right? We'll just mimic what he does. We don't need to be perfect. Not to have a Bob Ross moment on you, but we just need to indicate with a shadow on this side that this is a step up. This is narrow, so maybe that shadow's a little more narrow, right? This is wider, so maybe the shadow's a little wider here. There we go. Let's back out and see how that looks. Okay, so shadow there, shadow there, shadow there. Everything raises up, right? Lofton, 2, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for stopping in. Good to see you today. This is always a good time when I see somebody come into the channel to remind everybody about our weekly giveaway. We do a weekly giveaway, and in that weekly giveaway, we include anyone who is a follower of the channel. Anybody who follows the channel and then also also chimes in to the stream during a live stream is eligible to win a prize. We do a giveaway every week. This week we've got on offer a DVD copy of The 13th Warrior, an Antonio Banderas movie. It's very good. It's definitely a D&D type movie. And it's one of those movies that you'd have to say is better than a D&D movie, right? So you talk about what D&D movies are out there, and then you talk about which of those D&D movies are actually decent D&D movies, and the early ones with the name D&D on them are not strong. Shall we just put it that way? They're a little amateurish, I guess, is one of the kindest ways you could put it. Some people would be a lot more harsh about it. I know any first effort towards something is going to be fraught with a certain amount of peril. It's tough to make something perfect straight out, right? However, maybe you don't do something unless you're pretty sure you're going to do it well, huh? So what we're looking at on this map is mostly cavern cave area with a few areas that are worked. So we have to decide. He runs Traveler. Oh, cool. Maps are so generic, you use them for anything. For absolutely. You guys, you're running a Traveler game. You got people exploring a planet away from civilization. They find a cave. Somebody's actually sandstone. Anybody can build a few rooms off in a sandstone cave. What do you put in this one? I like saying sandstone, perhaps because of the color you used, right? Maybe this is off in a desert area, and somebody has hidden away a stash of some sort of contraband, and nearby is where they met with the players who were supposed to be picking this up, or they were supposed to meet nearby, and they get to the rendezvous and they find a couple of bodies and none of the stuff, so they find a way to track them back to whatever they've got to figure. Well, if they're meeting me here, They must have some sort of a stash house nearby, so they track them, head back, and they find this little complex. And what do they find here, right? A little adventure. They have to explore it. Maybe there's more contraband to be had. Maybe there are others there ahead of them, the people that killed the. Maybe it was just wildlife, some crazy giant toothy beast that killed them, and so now this is basically an abandoned hideaway that has a bunch of contraband in it that they can just go grab. Maybe the toothy beast tracked back looking for others and killed others. Maybe they actually have to deal with this creature when they get back there, right? They have a water source in here at the lowest level, so that's a good thing for them. They've got a number of rooms, a number of doors. They can lock things away. Maybe this isn't their complex. This lower area with this long hallway might indicate a little more than just a stash house, right? Maybe there's a secret laboratory here. Yep, nice to have a place like this where they can't just go in using the spaceship. It says Bluffton 2. It's true. When you're running Traveler, you can fall in the trap of constantly having space battles, never getting down to planets, and even when you get down to planets, sometimes surface flight can be the order of the day, so everybody's still always in their spaceship. No, you can't blame them in a way. There's a lot of security to being in a spaceship, right? You you leave the comfort of that spaceship. You're outside of the shields. You don't have the weapons that the spaceship has. Now maybe you're more of a target. Maybe it's good to spend time outside the spaceship. Technology makes it harder to offer them challenges, just like too many magic items. Yep, it's true. It's very true. And it's interesting too that the more magic items or technology, the more range of challenges you'll find in any given games situation. So maybe they have some personal armor and a sidearm of some kind, but how formidable they are when they just are walking around like that compared to how formidable they are when they're inside a spaceship is very much a huge difference. You can if you've got them in a spaceship and you disable their ship and you're firing on them and you're on the surface of a planet, don't have to create situations that thwart the tech. It's true. If you're firing on them while they're in the spaceship, you disable that spaceship, and they're being fired upon from another ship. Well, if they can't stay in the ship for fear that eventually it's just going to be pounded into dust, but they get outside of that ship, well, the weapons from the ship that was destroying their ship are going to easily destroy them, unless there's some cover nearby. And maybe there's a cave. Here you go. Into the cave you go. And now it becomes a running firefight with them, their enemies having to leave their ship. And this is an unexplored cave for the players. But now they have to hide somewhere in here for fear of they're already hurt. They're worried. So they move inside and they discover this other stuff, right? Maybe they go this way and whoever's following them goes this way, or they go this way and whoever's following them gets here first. They go down here. Eventually they come back out. They discover the bodies of the people that were pursuing them over in here. There's some sort of a Zapatronic thing here. Who knows? All sorts of possibilities. It's definitely exciting when you can create adventures like this from single maps. So we just had essentially we just created a couple of adventures, just overviews. Um, One was more of a generic, could be medieval fantasy, could be something different. We talked about the map, and then thanks to Blofton's input, we threw together some ideas for how to use this in a traveler campaign. So, the map just came out yesterday. Grab it for yourself over on DysonLogos.com. Be sure to become a supporter of his. Blofton, thanks for popping in. Always make sure you're a follower if you're chiming in on the channel, because that gives you the chance to also get in for the drawing, the giveaway, the weekly giveaway, and that's worth your while. If you are following us on YouTube, then be sure to subscribe. What are we doing the rest of the week? Well, tomorrow's DM Cartoon Review. We're going to be looking at that second episode of the first season of Conan the Adventurer. The first one's back up. He gave us a little guff over it, took a look at it, realized it was a review, let it go. Can't be monetized. We don't care about that, though. Rules retrospective. On Sunday, we'll continue with David M. Prada's version 2.2 from 2006 of his Advanced Dungeons & Dragons initiative and combat rules. Well worth checking out. We're going over it in detail. We're finding a few areas where we can give a little input, throw some examples, talk about how I personally used and still use first edition rules in comparison to what the rules as written are. The sources go through 1986, the Wilderness Survival Guide, so you know that this is all just first edition stuff when it comes to that particular document, but we'll examine it further. We're a little over halfway through it. On Monday, the weekly news and giveaway, we'll talk some more about the upcoming June 29th Harryhausen Day. Be his 100th birthday if he was still with us. He died at the age of 92. Not a bad run. But Ray Harryhausen, of course, Dynamation, the king of stop motion animation. So many great movies. Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts, the earlier one, and Clash of the Titans, again, the earlier one. Why they remade those movies, I don't know. They could certainly never do better when it comes to the animation. I mean, it's great. Use CGI. Let's replace this. It's kind of like, that's just foolish, because it wasn't the point. You weren't, what you did was a certain style. It's like saying, well, I'm going to repaint the Mona Lisa, but I'm going to use a more modern style. What's the point? It's not going to be the Mona Lisa. Go paint something different. Cartography and world building on Tuesday. Wednesday, campaign discussion. More on Grimwald, my own home campaign. Crafting, painting. We're moving along on those catapults now. I found that 10th one, and we got a coat on that. We started in on the second coat for all of them. We'll keep pounding away at that, and then we're back to Friday with the virtual tabletop building. As I say, thanks for watching. Follow the channel if you're here. Make sure you chime in on the